I'm Mike Turner, a 40-year-old guy from a small town in Ohio, and 3 months ago, my world turned upside down. I'd been married to Lisa, my wife of 10 years, and we built a life together. Nothing fancy, just a modest house, 2 cars, and a dog named Rusty. I've worked construction since I was 19, hauling beams, pouring concrete, you name it. It's tough on the body, but it paid the bills. That is, until I blew out my knee lifting a steel girder the wrong way at a job site. Torn ACL, the doc said. Surgery was the only option, and recovery was going to be a long, ugly road. 6 weeks after the operation, I was still a mess. Couldn't walk without crutches, couldn't drive, couldn't even get to the fridge without feeling like my leg was going to give out. The pain meds helped, but they made me foggy, and I hated relying on them. Lisa, 37, had been picking up the slack, working extra hours at her office job, handling the chores, keeping us afloat. I was grateful, but I also felt like dead weight. One morning, I was sitting on our couch, trying to pull on a pair of sweatpants. Such a simple thing, right? But with my knee braced up, it was like wrestling a bear. I was grunting, sweating, using this grabber stick the hospital gave me to tug the fabric over my foot. Not my finest hour. Lisa walked in from the kitchen, coffee mug in hand, and just stared at me. I thought maybe she'd offer to help, but instead, she let out this sharp laugh, like I was some pathetic sitcom character. You're like a busted lawnmower, Mike, just sitting there, useless, cluttering up my life. I froze, my hands still clutching the sweatpants. Did she just say that? My wife, the woman I'd built a home with, just called me a piece of junk? I looked up, expecting a smirk, maybe a hint she was kidding, but her face was cold, lips tight, like she meant every word. When I didn't say anything, she kept going. Honestly, sometimes I wonder why I even come back to this house. I felt something crack inside me, not my knee, but something deeper. Anger boiled up, but I swallowed it, forced a tight smile, and muttered, I'll manage. Inside, though, I was reeling. Our marriage hadn't been perfect lately. Ever since the injury, Lisa's patience had worn thin. She'd sigh when I asked for help, roll her eyes when we talked about hospital bills, make little jabs about how she was stuck, being the breadwinner. I tried to brush it off, chalk it up to stress, but hearing her call me useless out loud? That hit like a sledgehammer. That afternoon, my buddy Tom stopped by to check on me. He's known me since high school, always been the guy to call it like he sees it. I didn't plan to spill my guts, but when he asked how I was holding up, it all came pouring out, Lisa's words, the way she looked at me, the whole ugly scene. Tom's jaw dropped. Man, that ain't right, he said, shaking his head. You don't talk to your spouse like that, especially not when they're down. That's cruel, Mike. He didn't sugarcoat it, and that's when it clicked. This wasn't just a bad day. This was something worse. Tom asked me a question that stuck with me. If my wife said that to me, what would you tell me to do? I didn't hesitate. I'd tell him to stand up for himself, to not let anyone treat him like garbage. Funny how you can see things so clearly when it's not your own mess. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let Lisa's words define me, but I also wasn't going to ignore them. I downloaded a voice recorder app on my phone. Call it a gut feeling, but I figured I needed to start keeping track of what she said, just in case things got uglier. And trust me, they did. The days after Lisa called me a busted lawnmower were like walking through a fog. I was still stuck on the couch most of the time, my knee throbbing every time I moved wrong, but now I had this new ache, one that didn't show up on any x-ray. It was the kind of hurt that comes from realizing the person you love might not love you back. Not really. I kept replaying her words in my head, trying to figure out when things went so wrong. We'd had our fights, sure, but 10 years of marriage is supposed to mean something, right? Apparently not to Lisa. The next morning, she came home from the grocery store, arms full of bags. I noticed they were from that fancy organic place downtown, not the discount market we usually shopped at. With my construction job on hold and medical bills piling up, we'd agreed to cut back on extras. Yet here she was, unloading artisanal cheeses and some overpriced coffee blend. I was doing my physical therapy stretches on the living room floor, wincing as I tried to bend my knee. I asked if she could grab me a glass of water, nothing major. She sighed, loud and dramatic, like I'd asked her to run a marathon. Jesus, Mike, it's like babysitting a grown man. At least babies don't complain forever. I bit my tongue, but I hit record on my phone, tucked in my pocket. That one was clear as day. Over the next few days, I started noticing things I'd been too doped up on painkillers to see before. Lisa wasn't just annoyed, she was downright mean. She'd mutter stuff under her breath when she thought I couldn't hear, like how she was wasting her life playing nurse, or how I was dragging her down. One night, I overheard her on the phone with her friend Stacy, laughing about how she was stuck with a guy who can't even walk right. She called me dead weight. In that call, her voice dripping with disgust. Each jab was like a nail in a coffin I didn't even know I was building. What really got me, though, was the money. I'd always handled our finances, paying bills, balancing the checkbook, making sure we had enough for emergencies. But since the surgery, Lisa had taken over, saying I needed to focus on healing. Fair enough, I thought. Except one afternoon, while she was at work, I needed to check our insurance policy for a hospital claim. Her laptop was open on the kitchen table, and I figured I'd log into our bank account. What I found made my stomach drop. Our savings account, The one we'd been building for a new roof was down to almost nothing. Thousands gone. And there were transfers, big ones, to an account I didn't recognize, labeled Lisa Personal. I dug deeper, heart pounding. The statements showed charges for stuff we couldn't afford, spa treatments, a new designer purse, dinners at places I'd never even heard of. All while she'd been complaining about how my medical bills were ruining us. I felt like I'd been punched. Here I was, feeling guilty for every pill I took, every doctor's visit, and she was blowing our safety net on herself? I didn't confront her, not yet. Instead, I called my sister, Jenny, who's always been my rock. I told her everything. Lisa's comments, the bank account, the whole mess. Jenny didn't hesitate. Mike, that's not stress. That's betrayal. You need to protect yourself, now. Jenny drove over that evening, and we sat at my kitchen table, going through the numbers. She helped me screenshot everything, saving it to a flash drive. She also suggested I talk to a lawyer, just to know my options. I wasn't ready to think about divorce, but her words stuck with me. You don't deserve to be treated like this, especially not when you're hurting. That night, I changed the password on my disability checks, redirecting them to a new account Lisa didn't know about. It felt sneaky, but it also felt like survival. If she was hiding money, I wasn't going to let her drain me dry. Lisa came home late, smelling like wine and perfume. She didn't even look at me, just tossed her keys on the counter and said, "Hope you didn't need anything, because I'm beat." I nodded, keeping my face blank, but my phone was recording. I was starting to see her for who she was, and it wasn't the woman I'd married. The question was, what was I going to do about it? A week after finding Lisa's secret bank account, I was living a double life. On the outside, I was still the same Mike, hobbling around on crutches, doing my physical therapy, thanking Lisa for the smallest scraps of help, like when she'd toss a microwave dinner on the table. But inside, I was done. Done pretending her words didn't cut. Done acting like we were still a team. Every time she snapped at me or sighed like I was some burden, I'd smile, nod, and hit record on my phone. It wasn't about revenge, not yet. It was about building a case, a shield for whatever came next. Jenny, my sister, kept saying, "You're not paranoid, Mike. You're smart. Keep your eyes open." Lisa's behavior got bolder, like she knew I was too broken to fight back. One evening, I was struggling to carry a laundry basket to the washer. Stupid, I know, but I was trying to pull my weight. She walked by, scrolling on her phone, and didn't even glance my way. I asked if she could grab the detergent from the high shelf. She rolled her eyes and said, "God, Mike, it's like living with a toddler who can't do anything for himself." My phone caught that one, crystal clear. Later that night, she was on the phone with her sister, Karen, complaining about how tied down she felt, how she deserved a husband who could actually contribute. I heard her say, "I didn't sign up for this charity case." That one stung, but it also lit a fire under me. The money stuff was what really pushed me over the edge. I'd been quietly digging through our financial records, using the laptop when Lisa was out. I found more than just the transfers to her personal account. She'd been paying off a credit card I didn't even know existed, racking up charges for weekend getaways she'd claimed were work trips. There was a $500 charge for a fancy gym membership, while she'd been telling me we couldn't afford my physical therapy copays. The worst was a payment to some boutique for a leather jacket, $1, $200, more than my monthly disability check. All while she made me feel like my medical bills were sinking us. I printed everything, stashed the papers in a lockbox under the couch, and sent copies to Jenny for safekeeping. I called my dad, Hank, for advice. He's a retired mechanic, tough as nails but fair, always tells it straight. I laid it all out, Lisa's comments, the hidden spending, the way she treated me like I was nothing. Dad didn't say much at first, just listened. When I finished, he said, "Son, marriage is a partnership. If she's kicking you while you're down, that's not a wife, that's a bully. You gotta stand up, even if it's just for yourself." He told me to talk to a lawyer friend of his, a guy named Ed who'd handled divorces for some buddies. I wasn't ready to pull the trigger, but I took Ed's number. Meanwhile, I started being strategic. I opened a new bank account and rerouted my disability payments there. I made copies of our insurance policies, tax returns, anything I could get my hands on. I even started tracking Lisa's schedule, noting when she'd come home late or leave without explanation. The recordings kept piling up, her complaining about my laziness, mocking my limp, telling her friends I was holding her back. One night, she came home tipsy from a work happy hour and let slip something that froze my blood. "Sometimes I think it'd be easier if you just stayed in that hospital bed, Mike. At least I'd have options." She laughed like it was a joke, but my phone didn't miss a word. Pretending everything was normal was the hardest part. I'd thank her for bringing me a glass of water, even when she slammed it on the table. I'd ask about her day, acting like I didn't hear her muttering about how she couldn't wait to get out of this dump. I kept my voice steady, my face blank, but inside, I was counting down. To what? I didn't know yet, but I knew I couldn't live like this forever. My knee was still a mess, but my head was clearing. Lisa thought she had me beat. She was about to find out I wasn't as broken as she thought. 2 weeks after Lisa's comment about me staying in a hospital bed, I decided it was time to flip the script. I was tired of being her punching bag, tired of smiling through her insults while my phone recorded every nasty word. My knee was still a wreck, but my resolve was steel. Jenny, my sister, had been pushing me to take control, and Dad's words about standing up kept echoing in my head. I wasn't going to confront Lisa yet. That had come later. First, I was going to show her what useless really looked like. If she thought I was a busted lawnmower, I'd let her see how much she relied on the machine she'd been kicking. See, even with my injury, I'd been keeping our house together. I was the one calling the utility companies when the power flickered, scheduling vet appointments for Rusty, our dog, and ordering groceries online so we wouldn't starve. Lisa acted like her paycheck was the only thing keeping us afloat, but I was handling the grunt work that made her life easy. Not anymore. I started what Jenny called Operation Silent Strike. When Lisa asked what was for dinner, I shrugged and said, haven't figured it out. Too hard with the crutches. She huffed, ordered takeout, and complained about the cost, ironic, considering her secret spa days. The next day, the dishwasher started leaking, a fix I'd normally handle with a wrench in 10 minutes. I just pointed at my knee brace and said, can't bend down, sorry. Maybe call someone. She ended up mopping the floor herself, muttering the whole time. It didn't stop there. The internet went out because I forgot to pay the bill. Lisa's favorite reality show wouldn't stream, and she lost it, yelling about how I couldn't even handle a simple payment. I nodded, calm as ever, and said, guess I'm too useless for that, right? Her eyes narrowed, like she sensed something was off, but she didn't push it. The trash piled up because I didn't drag the bins to the curb, tough to do when you can barely walk. The car's oil change was overdue, and I didn't book it, so it started making this grinding noise. Each time, I'd repeat her words back to her. Can't expect much from a guy who's just cluttering up your life. It was petty, sure, but it felt like taking my power back, one small rebellion at a time. The real test came on a Saturday when the air conditioner broke. Ohio summers are brutal, and our house turned into a sauna. Normally, I'd climb up to the unit, check the filters, call a guy if it was serious. This time, I sat on the couch, fanning myself with a magazine, and said, man, it's hot. Too bad I can't do much about it. Lisa stormed out to her mom's place to cool off, leaving me with a broken AC and a smirk. I recorded her rant about how I was making her life hell before she left. That one was gold for my growing evidence pile. Meanwhile, I had my first meeting with Ed, Dad's lawyer friend. He was a no-nonsense guy, looked like he'd seen every kind of divorce mess there was. I showed him the bank statements, the credit card charges, and played a few recordings, Lisa calling me a toddler, a charity case, wishing I'd stayed in the hospital. Ed leaned back in his chair, whistling low. Mike, this is solid. Emotional abuse, financial deception, and you're medically vulnerable? Courts don't look kindly on that. He explained that Ohio's a one-party consent state, so my recordings were legal. He told me to keep documenting, but warned against doing anything rash, like draining our joint account. Stay clean, stay smart, he said. I left his office feeling like I had a map for the first time in months. Lisa started to notice the shift. One night, she came home from another work event and saw I'd moved my disability checks to a new account. She waved her phone at me, bank app open, demanding to know why her money was gone. I stayed cool, leaned on my crutches, and said, that's my disability, Lisa. Just like your personal account's all yours, right? Her face went from red to pale in seconds. For the first time, she looked nervous, like she realized I wasn't just limping along anymore. I wasn't sure what was coming next, but I knew I was ready for it. Let me know if you'd like me to proceed with Chapter 5, or if you have any specific feedback or adjustments for the next chapter. Lisa's nervous look after I called her out on the bank account didn't last long. She bounced back to her usual self, sharp-tongued, acting like I was the problem. But I was done playing the victim. My knee was getting stronger, thanks to physical therapy, and so was my backbone. I kept up Operation Silent Strike, letting the house fall apart just enough to show Lisa how much I've been holding together. The fridge was empty because I didn't order groceries. The lawn turned into a jungle since I couldn't mow it. When Lisa complained, I'd shrug and say, guess that's what you get with a useless guy like me. It was driving her nuts, and I could tell she was starting to crack. One night, things hit a new low. Lisa came home late, reeking of gin and perfume, her eyes glassy from another work thing. I was on the couch, working through my therapy exercises, when she stumbled in and started ranting. You're pathetic, Mike. Sitting there like some invalid while I'm out there killing myself to pay for your screw-up. I didn't bite, just kept stretching, my phone recording in my pocket. Then she said it, low and vicious, like she'd been holding it in forever. I wish that girder had crushed you. Would have saved me a lot of trouble. My heart stopped. This wasn't just cruel, it was evil. I looked at her, calm as I could manage, and said, we need to talk about what's next for us. Her smirk faded, like she realized she'd gone too far. The next morning, I called Jenny and told her everything. She was furious, ready to drive over and confront Lisa herself, but I stopped her. I've got this, I said, and for the first time, I meant it. I met with Ed, the lawyer, again, and played the new recording. His eyebrows shot up. Mike, this is dynamite. She's not just abusive, she's reckless. This could change everything in court. He helped me draft a separation agreement, just to get things rolling. I wasn't ready for divorce yet, but I needed space, and I needed Lisa to know I wasn't her doormat anymore. Back home, I started packing. Not my stuff, hers. I boxed up her clothes, her makeup, her fancy shoes, all the stuff she bought with our savings. Jenny came over to help, and we stacked everything in the garage with a note. Lisa, I need space. Stay with your mom until we figure this out. I changed the locks and the Wi-Fi password. Small moves that felt like reclaiming my life. When Lisa got home and saw her things in the garage, she lost it. She banged on the door, screaming that I couldn't do this, that she'd sue me, that I was nothing without her. I watched through the doorbell camera, feeling oddly detached, like I was watching a stranger. She eventually left, tires squealing, and I knew this was the beginning of the end. My doctor's visit that week was a bright spot. My knee was healing faster than expected, and the doc said stress can make pain worse. No kidding. He asked about home, and I was honest for once, telling him about Lisa's behavior. He added a note to my records about domestic stress impacting my recovery, more ammo for Ed. I left the clinic feeling lighter, like I was finally stepping out of a shadow. Lisa thought she could break me, but all she did was show me how strong I could be. After Lisa's meltdown in the driveway, she went quiet for a few days. No calls, no texts, just silence. I stayed with Jenny for a bit, giving myself some breathing room. Our house felt like a war zone, and I needed to clear my head. Jenny's place was calm, her husband, Pete, cooked these killer tacos, and their kids kept me distracted with board games. But I couldn't hide forever. I had to face what was coming, and that meant dealing with Lisa's next move. Sure enough, she didn't stay quiet long. A week later, I got a flood of texts, sweet ones, like she'd flipped a switch. Mike, I'm worried about you. How's your knee? Can I bring you anything? It was weird, like she'd forgotten everything she'd said. I didn't respond, just forwarded every message to Ed. Then her family got involved. Her mom, Diane, called, saying Lisa was under a lot of pressure and didn't mean to be so harsh. I was polite but firm, telling Diane I had recordings of Lisa wishing I'd been crushed. The line went quiet, and she hung up. Next came Lisa's brother, Tim, who texted asking to meet for a beer, just to talk. I declined, keeping all communication through Ed like he advised. Lisa was trying to rewrite the story, make me the bad guy, but I wasn't falling for it. I learned my lesson, trust the evidence, not her words. The turning point came at a barbecue hosted by Lisa's cousin, Sarah. I almost didn't go, but Jenny convinced me. Show up, Mike. Don't let her control the narrative. Sarah didn't know about our split, and Lisa was there, acting like everything was fine. When I walked in, leaning on a cane instead of crutches, Lisa's face went white. I made small talk, kept it light, but the tension was thick. After burgers, Sarah asked how we were doing, probably sensing something was off. Lisa jumped in, saying my injury had put a strain on us, but she was doing her best. That's when I decided to stop playing nice. I pulled out my phone and said, I don't want to make a scene, but Lisa's not telling the whole story. Want to hear why we're really done? Sarah nodded, confused. I played 2 recordings, Lisa calling me a busted lawnmower and the one about the girder crushing me. The backyard went silent, except for the hum of cicadas. Sarah's husband, Greg, looked like he'd been slapped. Lisa stammered, claiming I'd misunderstood her, but Greg, who's a sound tech, shook his head. That's not edited, Lisa. That's you. I didn't stick around for the fallout, just thanked Sarah for the invite and left. Jenny gave me a high five in the car. That's my brother, she said. The next day, Sarah called, apologizing for not knowing how bad things were. She said Lisa had a breakdown after I left, admitting she'd been cruel but blaming it on stress. Sarah wasn't buying it, and neither was I. Meanwhile, Ed was digging into our finances for the separation. He found Lisa had racked up $15,000 in debt on a secret credit card, fancy dinners, a new phone, even a deposit on a vacation she never mentioned. My disability money was safe, but our savings were toast. Ed said this was a slam dunk for court, especially with the recordings. I wasn't out for blood, just fairness. Lisa had broken our marriage, but I wasn't going to let her break me. It's been 4 months since the barbecue, and I'm not the same Mike who couldn't get off the couch without wincing. My knee's almost back to normal, physical therapy's working wonders, and I can walk a mile without my cane. The bigger change is inside. The guy who let Lisa's words cut him down? He's gone. I'm not saying I'm some superhero now, but I'm standing tall, and that's enough. The separation went smoother than I expected, thanks to Ed's prep. Lisa tried to fight it at first, hiring a lawyer who looked like he charged by the sneer. But when Ed laid out the recordings, the debt, and the bank transfers, her side folded fast. We settled out of court. I kept my disability money, our house, and Rusty. Lisa took her debt and her personal account. No alimony, no drama. The judge signed off last month, and just like that, 10 years were done. Lisa's out of my life now, living with her mom last I heard. I ran into her at the hardware store a week ago, buying paint for who knows what. She looked tired, like the weight of her choices was finally hitting. She tried to talk, saying she was in therapy, that she regretted everything. I listened, nodded, and said, I hope you figure it out, Lisa. I'm doing okay. No anger, no gloating, just truth. I walked away feeling light, like I'd closed a book I'd been stuck rereading. My therapist, yeah, I started seeing one, says that's progress. Not forgiveness, but freedom. I moved into a small apartment near Jenny's place. It's got a ramp, so no stairs to mess with my knee. Rusty loves the park nearby, and I'm getting pretty good at throwing his frisbee one-handed. Dad came over last weekend, helped me set up a new TV and a smart thermostat for days when bending's tough. He didn't say much about Lisa, just clapped me on the shoulder and said, "You're tougher than I thought, son." Coming from him, that's high praise. Ginny and Pete keep me busy, inviting me to game nights or barbecues. Their kids call me Uncle Mike, and it's hard to feel down when a 6-year-old's teaching you how to play Uno. I'm back to work, sort of. Not hauling beams yet, but I'm doing light consulting for my old construction crew, checking blueprints, managing schedules. It's enough to pay the bills, and my boss says there's a desk job waiting when I'm ready. I joined a gym, started swimming to keep my knee loose. The scar from surgery's still there, a jagged line across my skin, but I don't hide it. It's proof I made it through. I even signed up for a cooking class at the community center, learning to make chili that doesn't taste like motor oil. Small wins, but they add up. Last night, I was flipping channels when an ad for a fancy vacuum cleaner came on, calling it the hardest working tool in your home. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it reminded me of who I used to be to Lisa, a tool, valued only for what I could do. Not anymore. I'm Mike Turner, a guy who's learning to live for himself. I'm not dating yet, Jenny keeps pushing, but I'm not ready. For now, I'm good with Rusty, my family, and a life that's mine. Lisa thought I was a busted lawnmower, but I was the foundation she took for granted. She's living with that now, and me? I'm building something new, one step at a time.